Good afternoon, Aggressive Fish. Mr. Boris, Mr. Baker. Everyone says that they want to spend more quality time with their family. So we're trying to cater to that desire. We've created a card game titled Guess What Chicken Butt. And our goal was to allow families to spend more time together. We're trying to help families, friends grow closer together and really just make memories playing our game. The best thing we could hear from someone playing this is that they just really remembered having a good time with their family. That's our goal. Our game is repeatable, interesting, and fun for players of all ages. As a card-based game, our margins are incredible. At our market entry cost, we're projecting around 75% margins. And the ability we have to make a net profit surpasses even most other board games, just because it's so inexpensive to produce. So a little bit about us. So the game is titled Guess What Chicken Butt. It's made for families specifically. And so about us specifically, Jack Mungle, Parker Loescher, Tyler Reeser, and I are all seniors, and Jagger McKenzie is the junior of the group. We've been taking a class and spending 45 minutes a day working to prepare for you guys this semester. And so we've kind of based this game on three main concepts. The ability to mess with your friends, quick gameplay because we don't want it to take too long, and something that Parker came up with that we all loved was the idea of being easy to learn but very difficult to master. So up next to talk to you a bit more about the actual game is Jack Mungle.
All right, so now that you know a little bit about the game, I'm going to walk you through where we started and how we've progressed through the game. So we started off playing some other games. We played Ticket to Ride, Exploding Kittens, and we found that we liked Exploding Kittens, and that was kind of what we looked towards. So as we played, we had these sheets of paper that we would write down. Anytime we were playing, decided there's something we liked, we'd write it down. One of the big things that we decided in our game was the ability to screw with your friends. So we made sure that throughout designing the game, we wanted to keep that in mind. We also had Nope as one of our things from the game that we liked, which is the ability to cancel any action, which also fits in with screwing over with your friends. So we decided to go with the card game. Here you can see one of the first cards that we made, where we started off with the name up top, then a picture, and then the text on the bottom. And later we moved from that to having, on the challenge cards, we'd have the challenge and then just the text. We also decided that physical aspects of the game are enjoyable to have. So when we first designed the game, we had these eggs, which kind of act as your points, and the ability to actually crack them and interact with the object we decided was fun. So we tried to keep that. So one of the problems with the eggs we found is that they would roll around and hard to keep in one place. So our first attempt was to design egg holders, which would come in 2x3 to hold 6, half a dozen. But we learned quickly that they were hard to design and took up a lot of space. So we then moved to making our own eggs, which were smaller and had threads on them to break them, and we could put a flat bottom on them so that they just stay on their own.
So maybe a quick question for you. Who's doing the production for you? How is the engineering being done? Who's facilitating that? What does that look like?
So Parker and I worked on designing the eggs and egg holders. We used 3D printing for the prototypes. We could look into 3D printing or injection molding, which would likely be better and easier, and also less expensive.
Have you identified an organization to help you with that process yet, or what does that look like? You mentioned the margins are really strong. Have you factored in your development costs or engineering expenses?
That's going to be covered by Tyler later.
Okay.
When he'll go over all the costs and stuff. We also incorporated the coin, also 3D printed, experimented with that, which Parker will tell you about here shortly. We looked into adding dice. We had timers to start off with, but decided that they were unnecessary, took up too much cost, and didn't help the game much. We also experimented with different designs on the back. We started off with blank cards, decided we should put the logo on the back and have different colors for the corresponding cards. So I'm going to let Parker come up now and tell you about how the game works and the more artistic design side of it.
Thank you, Jagger.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm here to discuss the actual gameplay of the game and the artistic side of this game, like Jack just introduced me to. So first off, the eggs, which we include 6 for each player, and it's up to 5 players. So you can easily break them by reversing the threads on them to open them up, and then you just twist them to put them back into place. And that's how you keep your score. If your egg is cracked, that means that you have lost the egg. So it look like that. And then when you want to put it back together, of course, you just twist it back on. They are reverse threaded. I did reverse thread them. That's something we looked into, is changing the threading on them, because I did reverse the threads on them instead of making them go the standard way, which we should fix in the next design.
Production.
Yeah, I think we might change that for mass production. So when I was thinking through the design of this game, because this was started off as my idea of a game, it really transformed from what we originally did, but I like being able to take a game and being able to play it in multiple different ways. I think it makes it more interesting. So there's actually 3 different ways to play this game in a mode. So we have designed a fast gameplay mode, because we realized that when we did the testing, there were some people who didn't exactly like playing for so long. They lost interest, and it was hard to get them hooked on a game when they didn't even want to play in the first place. So we worked on that, and that's the recommended settings we actually have for your first time playing. It's easier to set up, it's easier to get through, faster to play. And then once they decide, oh, I actually like this game, but I want something more complex here, that's when we go to the normal game mode. And then just for advertising sake, actually, we made a very difficult hard mode that I had thought up of, because I'm like, okay, we need to take this one more level to really make this more marketable of a game.
Parker, how long does each one of those take from a time perspective?
Estimates would be about the quick, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. The long is about 10 to 20. And the last one's actually only like 5 to 10 as well. But it's more complex of a game mode, so it's only suggested to, after you've played quite a few games of it, to try it, because the game goes very quick in the ultra hard mode of it. So basically what happens is each player gets 6 eggs, like I said earlier. Once you reach 6 eggs, that's the max you're allowed to have. You can only have 6 eggs throughout the game, but you can lose more and gain more as the game goes on. So in the easiest mode, all you start off with is 7 cards. You have those 7 cards, and at the end of your turn, you have to draw a card. So on your turn, you can either flip this coin, or you can play a card. There's different cards within the box, such as challenge cards, stipulation cards, that all do different things. So say you got a stipulation card that says that someone has to wear a blindfold. Then the next time that person has to do a physical challenge, they'd have a blindfold on their face to make it way more difficult. There's also these cards called event cards, and they all do, I believe, 8 unique different cards that all do different things. So some of them actually cause everybody to lose eggs, some of them cause people to gain eggs, some of them make all the eggs the same count for each player. So if the last person has 1 egg, everybody has 1 egg. So it just keeps the game moving really, really fast, and it's an aspect of like, oh shoot, I had planned this out, and now it's all gone. But there's still that strategy of going, okay, I need to place these cards strategically, so that way when we get towards the end of the game, I have something to help me win in the end of the game. So I mentioned earlier that you could also flip the coin as part of your turn. So there's the head side and there's the chicken butt side. In the first 2 game modes that I described, the fast and the normal, you can flip the coin once, and if you flip it, you get all of your eggs back. But if you flip the chicken butt, then you would lose all your eggs and you're instantly out of the game. You can't come back in. So it's kind of just like a game of chance with the coin. And we found that was interesting, and people would do it just for fun. Even though they had like 5 eggs, they do it for fun because they think it was funny. And they really got a lot of enjoyment out of that, being able to make the choice of, okay, I can do something stupid here. But we like to give the players choices on what they can do. So in the rules at the top, since we're focused on having fun and marketability, I actually put that you can actually change any of the rules or make your own rules if you wanted to with your friends or your family. So it's just a game of very versatile function.
What's the recommended age?
We have a recommended age of about like 5+. The mentals challenges might be a little difficult. That's why we even include that you don't have to play with the mental challenges. But that's just a different form of doing this. Right now, we had a physical form of the rule sheet, but we decided to not go with that idea because it was, 1, more expensive to put in the box, and 2, we know that most families and households have mobile devices, and a QR code to scan would be much simpler and much easier to look at because multiple people can have it pulled up. So we're looking into currently going for that, which transitions into where I want to talk about the art right now. So if you have any questions about the game, just feel free to ask them now. All right, so going into the art section of the game. Like I said, we want to make the rule sheet into an electronic format, and we need an artist to do all this because none of us are artists. So we were looking into hiring artists. They would make the rule sheet and they would make it look nice. So there'd be different illustrations on the side, just to really make it feel all nice. We also want to go towards a card sheet on that as well, because there's all these different cards, and it would be really nice to have a description of each of these cards on a list that someone could have pulled up on their phone if they need it. So we want to go towards something like that as well, and that's where we want to go with the QR code because it's inexpensive and it's very convenient for a lot of people. So we have designed 4 of the final cards here, and I'll hand them to you, of what we're looking for in an artist's card. So I'll hand these for you guys to look at while I'm talking. So on each card, I typed out a funny description of something that relates to what the card actually does, and then we tried to put like what the card actually does at the bottom past it. But we also want the card sheet just for simplistic sake. So we started off with, of course, this card I drew called Trash, and we put the name of the card at the top, the illustration, and then the description at the bottom. We decided to go away from that and go towards the illustration at the top and the name and all the words together because we found the names and the words being together made it easier to read the card. So that's what we went for with the final design. I had Alex Loescher draw all these cards up as a reference of what we could do with an artist. And I think that would really go towards what we want to go towards is good illustrations on the cards to really sell the cards. On the backs of each card, there should be a gold on the back of them. Some of them don't just because they were testers. We found that what color we wanted to go for with the back of our cards was actually gold. We had started off with a vinyl printing of the card, and we found that we liked that, but we couldn't reproduce it that well because we didn't want to go with the vinyl because we want something that'll last. So we want to go with a printed version. We want to also figure out what color. So we used linoleum and ink to figure out what we wanted. This was the red, and we didn't like the way the red turned out in the black because that was the original design, was everything was going to be red and black in the boxes. We found we didn't like that much, so we went towards a golden black, and we found that looked a lot better and more appealing to people. And a lot of people said that they did like the idea of the card having like a gold backing to it when we did play testing with it. Going into more of the actual advertising and marketing, why we need an artist. I have a couple.
How many times have you had people play, and what's their feedback been?
We had done an original alpha test where we had a very, very simplistic, where it was only like these cards. We had, I believe, 6 groups play that original testing of it. A lot of the feedback was about the eggs, and the balance of the game was thrown off a lot, and a card count, because there was a bunch of different rules about the card count. So we've really simplified it down to a very simpler form. And when we did the second testing, I believe we had 2 or 3 groups test it. And one of the people that had said that they really disliked the game, the second time around actually said they really liked the game because we had fixed a bunch of the balancing issues. And people always said that they really liked the eggs in the game, but the problem was that they keep getting tossed around and they would fall over because they had nothing to hold them. So that's when we went to these of trying to test it, and then we realized why not just go to these form of eggs. So we did our second to last test. We still used these eggs with it, but people were still enjoying the game as we balanced it more and more. We kept getting reoccurring people coming back to test it, and they kept saying that they really, really enjoyed the game more, and that it was more balanced as time went on. And then our final test we did on 2 different days. We did it with 3 different groups, 2 groups on the first day, and then 1 other group that had never played the game before on the last day. The 2 groups that did play on the first day, we gave some of them the eggs, and they almost always preferred these kind of eggs over the Easter eggs. They did not like that the threads were reversed on the eggs, but that's something we can easily fix. But they found that they liked these eggs better because they stood up and they didn't fall around everywhere. And that's what the last group did that as well. They really enjoyed the game. They enjoyed all the physical aspects of it and all the different things they could do. And it was easy for them to learn because we played the easiest mode, and they really caught on fast.
So Parker, another question. So as you went through and identified I think you mentioned it was over five plus age group.
Yes.
Did you do any sample testing with some of the younger? Is this primarily high schoolers? Did you test that? What were the sample sizes look
We were
like?
not able to get down to the 5+. This was mostly high school age students. But we plan, since this is a family game, we're going to have adults that are about in their 30s, 40s, and we have kids that are about in their early development. We found a median between those two to figure out what would work. And we believe that with the combination of the two, that it'll come together. Because we also know that children really love the idea of the eggs. When they saw the eggs, they liked them. Because they would come in and see the game and be like, oh, look at all these colorful eggs. We know that they like the physical aspect of the game. That's what other companies have done, such as Exploding Kittens is about an 8+, I believe. And they have found that the physical aspect of the game of playing the cards, the DLC where you do physical things, they found that they enjoyed that. So that's something we based off of. We have the kids, and then we also have the adults who will appreciate the funny card descriptions, the weird card descriptions, and be able to enjoy the game. And then teenagers, of course, that's who we tested with, who really enjoyed playing the game. They enjoyed both the physical aspect and the card aspect. Any other questions, gentlemen?
No.
All right. Moving into the advertisement section. I've made up a couple of myself of what we're looking for an advertisement. So first up, it's the picture of the game, and it says all of that, and a catchy name. Guess what, chicken butt? So we're looking for like a quick, witty, kind of just quick show of our game, show of the logo, something like that. I'll hand these to you in a second. Just show off the rest of them. We have our logo, and for the people made by chickens, by Guess What Chicken Butt today. This would be something we'd probably put in the store to advertise our game. And the best thing since egged bread with our logo in the middle, of course, again. Just quick witty humor playing off of the aspect that we have eggs, and the game's called Guess What Chicken Butt. Something like that is what we're looking for.
Do you envision this mostly electronic distribution of advertisement? Or
we're looking for a combination of both, potentially. Depending on how much money we can raise from Kickstarter, as well as another thing we wanted to go into, potentially for funding for this game alongside with your investment, to produce a variety of physical and a variety of electronic advertisement for it. I do also have a commercial ready to be played if you don't have any other questions about the advertisements.
Let's see the commercial.
All right. Next one.
Well, all right, kids. It's family game night. Johnny, how about you go first this time, slugger? You got this, kid.
Oops, oopsies. Wait, Papa, who's that man over there?
Are your family game nights lame? The creators of Cool have created the game Guess What Chicken Butt. This new card game is exciting, challenging, and contains extreme amounts of chicken butts. This is you before you play Guess What Chicken Butt. Pathetic. And here's you after Guess What Chicken Butt. That's one handsome young fellow. Play Guess What Chicken Butt today, unless you're too chicken.
So that's about a 50-second advertisement, something we're looking for, about 50 to a minute long, that you can play over something like YouTube, work with them to get advertisements for that, or somewhere other online space or on TV. Looking for just a quick and metal kind of look to it, just to try and make it seem like it's a really cool game is what we want to play into, that this is a very intense game, to try and get people attracted to it, because that's one of the things, our similar game Exploding Kittens that we looked at that we really liked, is the whole point of it. It's just a very serious, gritty game essentially, but it's also made for like 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds as well. It's a family game. So that was something we really looked into, and something we want to hire artists to make something better than that, although that was pretty close to perfection, I will say. If you have other questions, we're going to move on to Tyler Reeser with cost.
Do you have a bullet or two underneath these and or even on the commercial where you describe like the objective of the game, or like, so as a parent who's looking to make the purchase, what's the game about? Like, how do you communicate that?
That's what we want to hire artists to do something like that as well. I would say probably replayability would be one of the bullet points you'd want to put onto it. Would be an interesting one. Creative. Ridiculous would be another great one, because all the card descriptions are all completely random. The pictures are really, really random. Really funny is what we try to look for in our artistic side of this, to really make it a marketable game.
Okay.
We want to stand out from the opposition, so we want to make it. We want to make this crazy game that like someone's like, I've never seen anything like this. Like there's like on our card, we have a chimichanga throwing a spider in the fire. It's something that somebody's not going to be like, what did I just see? I want to see this again. What is this all about? We want them to ask more questions when they see our advertisements. Any other
Last
questions?
question. How does social media factor into this?
We were thinking about taking the handle for this game and really put this up. Like I said, we were looking into doing a Kickstarter for this campaign to help funding with this as well, to get additional units along the way. I think it would be a great source of getting people invested in this game and looking at this game. Because again, this is a very marketable game, as I tried to demonstrate here. That people are going to be able to look at this and go, I want to see more of this. What's this about? When they see just one post on an Instagram page or something like that. So when they see that one post, they're really going to be drawn in and want to learn more about what is this game about. If you have another further questions, we'll go over to Tyler Reeser with the cost.
So I'm going to be talking about the price of the game. And so our price of the game is $6.87, and we are set to price it out at $19.99. And we have not set any stores yet that we really are set on to go into yet, and we just want to figure out how much money we can get and other stuff like that first. But I'm going to go through what each part of our game costs. And so the card design print is priced out at $4, and that includes every single type of card throughout the deck, not just the main cards, the challenge cards, and everything else. And the eggs are priced out at $1, and the coins are at 10 cents. The packaging box, the white packaging box, and black are set at 40 cents per unit. And the straw for the box that we plan on having inside the box, just an add little effect feature to, create a better vibe to it. And just to have that with the game is set at $1.24 per ounce, which probably an ounce would probably be fine for each box. And dice is set at 25 cents per pair of dice. So we were looking at on Amazon, out of a pack of 100 dice, and a pair of them would be around 25 cents as what we were looking for the price of it. And it'll work out pretty well for us, and we only need one dice per game. And basically, we're planning on bringing it into stores at $19.99, and along with other games like you mentioned, Carpeted, like Exploding Kittens, and a few of the other games we played, they're all set usually around $19.99 or higher. And especially with our margins are really great, going from $6.87 to what we can buy and get everything for our game, and price it out at $19.99, and to go into stores. And yeah.
Tyler, any of the people that you had play the game and experience it, did you ask them about paying $19.99? What was their reaction?
We did not. So we did not really talk to them too much about that. But we know for ourselves, we looked at the price of Exploding Kittens because we played it before we started making our game. And they have different sets of games like we do, like a harder version, and you can add more packs to it and DLC packs and things like that. And I think the lowest the one went, it was just cards only, kind of like how Uno is. It was set at like $11.99 or $14.99. But we have a few other things added into the game and other stuff like that. And when we were talking about it, we think $19.99 would be a great price. And also, like, if we thought about going into Target or Walmart, if we get that in those stores, when we go look at the game to buy it, that's what we would probably, it wouldn't be too much or too little. And so it would be a pretty great price.
So that's the $1 for the eggs. I know you mentioned you 3D printed those. Sounds like that's probably where the dollar cost came from. Do you expect any more savings as you look at institutionalizing that and sending it to a third party to print?
So we talked about, like Jack said, injection molding and doing 3D printing for our eggs. And we didn't get too much in depth on where exactly organizations we want to do that with yet and looked at that. But we know that that's probably what we want to do here in the future. And once we get there, and we did look at the price of eggs, and we looked at a few other places, and I forget exactly where, but I know we looked at it online and went through places how much it would cost, and it would probably cost us $1 for our eggs through each game. And so for what we can get, we didn't really price it out too much yet in the exact place that we want, but we got a average price from certain other places. If you guys have any more questions, that's about
So primary channel that you guys want to put this in is retail?
Yes. So we want to go into mainly like a Walmart or Target, and especially where they have, you go into a store, and especially like a Target, you go to the game section. They have tons of games, and you go in there looking places like that. And also we talked about, like Parker said, getting on Kickstart to start up our game, and going into other stores that just have like game stores, and you can just go get lots of games, or just small retail stores, or anything of that sort.
Have you thought about any direct-to-consumer approaches where you put it on a website and they buy it, or some sort of a relationship with Amazon, or do you have relationships with Walmart and Target to get in there, or what does that look like in terms of that distribution?
So we have not talked to them directly yet, but we did talk about, as a group, we did talk about going on to Amazon and other places like that to sell to and put our product on. And we think that'd also be great because it's online and easy. And I know a lot of people these days, it's just one click of a button and it's there at your doorstep the next day. And that'd be a really great thing for us to get that on there and to talk to them and just, it'd make our game explode. Any more questions?
I'll just ask one more. So in terms of production costs overall, what's your initial setup look like? It sounds like you got $687 per unit, but what do you need to have everything up and running to feel like, hey, you can go to Walmart and Target and begin selling?
So I know Blake will get into this next.
Yeah,
So-
so
Perfect, thank you.
With unit stuff, but yes.
yeah, so I'm more of the business guy among us. They're all a lot more creative than I am, and I'm no engineer for sure. So thankfully we have Jack and Parker to handle a bit more of that. So the investment that we're looking for is $200,000 for a 30% stake in our company, which would make you the majority shareholder. We, as a group, own a total of 70% currently. If you were to take this offer at 30%, split up differently amongst us. So Jack, Parker, and I would each own 20% of the business. Tyler would own 1%, and Jagger would own 9%, corresponding to levels of work that we all put into this business. As a matter of fact, we actually have a card called the Tyler card that does nothing. As a joke, he did actually do some work. He did a good job near the end. But yeah, so the goal for that money is our goal is to create a Kickstarter campaign, like you heard a little about earlier. So we would take $103,000 of that to purchase 15,000 units at the price that Tyler just gave you. And then we would take $57,000 for continuous improvement, specifically hiring an artist to finish designing the cards. Obviously, the four you have that are fully designed, not all the cards look like that yet. So that's what we would need an artist for, and that's kind of where that money would go. And then we would also save an additional $40,000 for marketing for both online advertisements like the commercial you looked at, physical advertisements like you have in front of you. And then you asked about direct to consumer. That is one of our goals, that we would like to be eventually direct to consumer. So with that Kickstarter campaign, we start out hopefully with 15,000 units. We sell until we hit 2,000 units, and all of those proceeds are being rolled back into marketing and continuous development. And then once we hit 2,000 units left in inventory, we would want to obviously purchase more inventory, as we don't want to run out. We don't want times for shipping to get too long, because that would lead to dissatisfied customers. And our long-term goal is to get this into stores like Walmart, Target, Recess, a board game store. And then really long-term, we would like, after we've created a base for demand, we would like to create an online version, an app on the Google Play Store or the App Store that we could sell at no overhead, because the game's already designed. Obviously, there's a one-time cost to create the app, but after that one-time cost, there's no continued expenses for us, and that makes the margins that much greater, and it means we can drop the price pretty significantly.
Have you guys looked at what the inventory cost would be to like get into a Target or a Walmart?
No, we have not.
So I think that would be math that I would encourage you to do.
Yeah.
Because you'll probably need more funding after the initial funding to do the Kickstarter. I think the Kickstarter's smart, But to load into like a Target who has 2,000 stores,
Yeah.
you're going to need a lot more capital.
Yes, and for sure, we wouldn't be starting in all 2,000 stores at first, of course. With Target, how they bring brands in, and really most of those big stores is right. They'll start off in, maybe they'll give you 10 to 15 stores where you can go in, and they'll see, okay, what do our customers think of this? If nobody buys this in 6 months of selling it at 15 stores, obviously they're going to drop, as they should, because that's bad business for them. We'd be taking up shelf space that they could use for brands that would actually bring them in money. Lord willing, they start us out in 10, 15, 20 stores, does well. They say, okay, hang on, we've got something here, selling, let's bring it to more stores. That way everyone gets more profit.
What kind of stores would you want Target to test them in? What demographics would you look for?
We haven't thought about that. Obviously, high population density, big thing, needs to be a lot of people, a lot of families specifically. So I think in like affluent neighborhoods, like around here, like we have Avon is known as a pretty wealthy neighborhood. Neighborhoods like that where families can afford to spend money on games and they're not saving all their money towards food and shelter and not being able to pay for entertainment. Obviously, those aren't great stores for us to be selling a board game in.
So basically, just to confirm my numbers are correct, if we're getting a 30% stake for $200,000, that means you're valuing the business at just under $700,000. Is that the right?
Yes. So we're not, obviously we haven't been able to sell yet as we don't have any money to buy inventory. So the valuation is definitely pulled out of thin air, to be honest. We don't have any numbers that we can show you, hey, we sold this many games at Recess, we sold this many games on Kickstarter, just because we haven't had the funds to put into this.
Just looking at the numbers then, so essentially you're saying you're going to sell it for $20 and it's going to cost about $7. How much of that do you anticipate going to the retailers in terms of their profit?
So I'm not sure of the specific numbers, but I'd assume of the profits that the retailers would take at least 20%, would be just a random guess. But I'm not certain of the exact numbers. None of us really have any contacts at Target or anything, which is part of why we'd love to.
They will take more than that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would encourage you guys to look at your costs again
Mhm.
or your price, because your
Okay.
margins are good for your Kickstarter campaign or even a DTC
Mhm.
route to market. But if you guys want to take it to e-com,
Yeah.
you're going to want a good chunk of
For
those
sure.
margins. If you take it into retail, they're going to ask for even more.
Okay.
Which makes it less attractive for investors.
Okay, that's good to know. Even if retail is only leaving us with 30% of the profits, we can still make a profit from that, although admittedly a lot slimmer. So of course DTC would be the goal. DTC would be a great goal. Obviously, like I said, App Store, Google Play Store would be a great end goal, but we do need to go, not need to, but it'd be very helpful to go through retail first to build demand. If we just release a random app on the App Store that, especially if we're charging money to play it, obviously that's not going to build any demand whatsoever. So we do need retail, but if we could cut retail out eventually, that would be outstanding.
A couple pieces of feedback.
Great.
I always look through things. Do you guys know what the 4 Ps are? 4 Ps of marketing: product, place, price, and promotion. You guys did a really good job of walking through all of those 4 Ps. One thing that I would really encourage you to look at, you want to establish a brand here,
Mhm.
right? And you want people to covet your brand. Get your brand more similar, right? So if you're going to go with gold and black, make the box gold and black,
Okay.
right? Make everything around your signage then gold and black. If you're going to make it red and black, then make it all red and
Mhm.
black. But create a brand and stand behind the brand.
Okay.
Because that'll be the thing that carries you guys through to
Yeah.
customers and help create the word of mouth of what the game is and why I
Okay.
want it.
Yeah, I see that. Just one color palette.
Yep. On promotion, I think you guys have done a really good job. It's creative. The name is catchy, right? So that there's aspects that'll just on social media, it'll take off. Your commercial was great, right? Because it's like enough of like, oh, that's interesting. And for $20, I'll take a shot. So that was really, really good.
Well, I'll cut to the chase. Based on what I've seen so far, I know you mentioned you're looking for a 30% interest for $200,000.
Mhm.
I would be willing to take a 60% interest for that same amount.
Okay. What do you guys? That leaves us as a group with 40%. Tyler gets 1%. Maybe we can put Jagger down.
Hey, hang on. I'll my co-coach here, I'll maybe take a different spin. I think you guys are going to need more money than what you're planning. Because I think to get this to work, you're going to need to get into retail. You're going to need to build more inventory.
Yeah.
So we're hoping with the Kickstarter to raise enough money to also help with this. This is kind of a co-payment to help us get into manufacturing some of them for Kickstarter. So when we get our
When you
Kickstarter,
have an investor offer you more money than
Never say no.
Shut up. Sit down. Go with.
I'm about to write you a bigger check than what you're asking, but I'll stay at the $200,000 if you think you're right. Would you like to retract that statement?
oh no, we'd like more money, but we're saying that we'd like to be able to get into Kickstarter. So that's what
Let's just ignore him. He can.
So the
be
more
kicked
money
out.
we get into this is the more money or more products we put out on Kickstarter, which is the more that we can produce, which means more money because that's more we can sell into the retailers. So we're looking to get as much money as possible to help us get into Kickstarter to really get the word out, and then getting into retail so more people who aren't in the loop of Kickstarter will be able to start getting into that.
Okay, I just think you guys are going to need some more money.
Okay.
So I would be willing to give you $300,000 for a 50% share.
See, the challenge that you're missing though, and he's talking a lot about retail, but you still need to work on the marketing component and build the connections around that. One of the things that I bring to the table as a result of the 60% interest is I'll be able to help facilitate some of those marketing efforts and making sure you actually have opportunities to connect with the individuals at Target,
true.
individuals at Walmart. Because while yes, the additional capital will absolutely be necessary, my colleague makes a very good point. Unfortunately, until you get into those markets, you're going to have a tough time replicating that and building the business.
Well, I think an extra $100,000 and a 10% less stake makes up for that a little bit. And also, we need an engineer to teach Parker that you can't reverse thread screws.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate your time.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, it was really.
You give me